All right. So I just want to welcome everyone to our first ever webinar. We are basically a health show. We're called Primitive Evolution, and it's all about back to basics. So we're probably trying to, I guess, take what we think we know and apply a slightly different principle, and that give you something that your body knows probably more than we think we know. So today's episode is all about health types, and I've got my business partner Nicholas Bergmans on the line as well. And so basically we're just going to be passing it on to each other. Yeah, and I'm going to lead the conversation. So if anyone wants to quickly jump in and say hi, just jump in and say hi. So at the moment we've got Alexander Kittle on the line. Fantastic to have you here, mate. And we've got Olga as well. Olga, where are you tuning in from again? You said you were driving a car, so you haven't got your video on. It is a pleasure to have you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm based in the UK, but I will not distract you with my driving because it can be quite noisy in the car. But I'm so excited to learn.
Awesome. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And we've got my brother Paul as well. So Paul Tucker's here. Pleasure to have you here as well. And we've got the legendary Edward Zia. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. He will have his video off as well because he's dealing with his kids at the moment. But yeah, so let's get stuck into it. Basically how it's going to work is I'm just going to open with a few questions to Nick, because Nick is a practitioner of pretty much the things we're going to talk about today. And yeah, I'd say let's just get straight stuck into it. So Nick, health types. So when we talk about health types, we're talking about what? What is a health type?
Well, I guess a health type is a little bit of variation between individuals. So it's based upon Ayurvedic medicine, I think was the first sort of area that looked into health types. And I'm sorry if my voice is a little bit weird. I've just got a new retainer or plate in and I'm still getting used to it, but anyway.
No, that's all good, man. All good.
Yeah. So health types came from Ayurvedic medicine, I believe, which is about 5,000 years old. And they started with Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So Vata being skinnier, lighter sort of build people. The Pitta being medium sort of build, more muscular in structure, like this more athletic, and the Kapha being our bigger sort of people, the real defenders and fighters sort of people.
So we have just on that, we have a little bit of a different sort of maybe different words, right, in our sort of Western world compared to the Ayurvedic, where it sort of originated. So those are what? Mesomorph, ectomorph, endomorphs, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. So when we talk about health types, we're talking about pH 360, right?
Well, it's one company.
Yep.
It's just one company. They're probably the best that I've found. It's the first and only thing that I have ever recommended in my life. It's that good. It's kind of honestly indescribable. From a guy who I like to think I'm really good at what I do. I like to think I've read a lot and I can help a lot of people. And when I start going through the back end of their software as a coach, and I am just absolutely bewildered about the amount of information and the accuracy to detail on not just physiological changes, but emotional responses to hormones and chronobiology and a whole heap of different stuff on just looking at limb lengths. It's kind of really scary that pH 360 does for like a couple $100 a year, really.
Yeah, you were saying the other day you and your brother were looking at the back end of the coach's, I guess, platform, right? And you were having a look at your biotypes, because you and your brother, basically the whole idea of pH 360, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a 360 degree kind of circle, right? So each sort of part, you have your endomorphs on the right side, sort of like up here somewhere, and then you've got your ectomorphs down the bottom and your mesomorphs kind of on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, pretty much. And so instead of separating people into the ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph categories, they split it up further into 6 and then did that on a 360 degree wheel. So everyone is separated by like 10 degrees of This is 10 degrees of variance on a 360-degree wheel. So there's technically 36 body types according to these people, but it's just really, really insane. It's really cool.
And you and your brother had the same body type, right? Or biotype? Yeah. So you guys are different heights, yeah, as well?
Yeah, so I'm 5'8", I think, 175 centimeters, and he is 6'4". And we both did the same test and we came up with the same number, which was, as they call it, a diplomat, which we can explain a bit later, but it's kind of interesting. It's kind of freaky because we both think the same ways and act the same ways, but our stature is a little bit different. I honestly think I should have been a lot taller from what I am. When I was in uni, we heard about some research on heights in adolescence, and they found that young people who went through periods of being overweight and then losing weight and getting heavier and lighter and kind of jig-jagging in their weight through adolescence, they found that they had less growth, like they were shorter. And that happened to me when I was in doing puberty and all that, but it didn't happen to Bailey. Bailey got really, really fat, and then he grew up really, really fast and kind of stayed the same. So very interesting that it happened between the two of us.
I'm just going to quickly show you guys, just so, as Nick keeps talking. So I'm just going to share my screen here. So basically this is the wheel. So you've got the big wheel here. So if you look at the wheel, you've got your endomorphs over here. This is where they kind of classify the endomorphs. So you've got diplos and guardians over here, a little bit of connector as well. And then down the bottom, you've got your crusaders and sensors. And then over this side, you've got your mesomorphs. So kind of, you wouldn't say that anyone's like a pure mesomorph or pure endomorph or pure ectomorph. Some people sort of are, but this one sort of, it combines them in a way and gives you kind of like, it treats it more unique in the fact that, well, diplos, what they say, so diplomats, they have the longest gut, right, Nick?
Yes.
And guardians as well. So endomorphs typically have longer guts. So the diseases and things that they sort of have more of, or they're more predisposed to, start in the gut. Whereas crusaders and sensors are more ectomorphs. They're much more nervous system based. So the diseases and things that they're more predisposed to are going to be neurological. And then I'm not so sure about activators and connectors, the mesomorphs.
Activators, yeah, the mesomorphs. So movement and sort of things. It's arthritis and things like that, joint problems, I believe, off the top of my head. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is basically a really, really cool way to kind of just look at, because everyone's different, right? And there's, I guess the problem in our industry, I'll just stop sharing. The problem in our industry is there's too many people trying to make it like a cookie cutter approach to their health. And these guys are the experts, they're expert coaches, right? They're trying to make cookie cutter approaches, like a one size fits all, to try and, I guess, box people in that this food's good for this and this food is good for that, right? When in actual fact, like the foods that you should be eating are vastly different to the foods that I should be eating.
Absolutely. I think I can run through and explain them all if you want to bring that screen back up.
Yeah.
Explain the differences, variances.
And we have a great mentor, Carl Montgomery, and he basically introduced us to this as well, right?
Yeah.
And I guess the biggest thing, just quickly, was that if you're trying to hit in, because these are basically where you're, what do you call them? Like baseball pitches. So there's 6 baseball pitches. And if you're trying to hit like over this side, like thinking you're a guardian when you're actually more of a crusader, well, you're just going to sabotage yourself. Your body doesn't want that. You think it wants to be here, but you're actually meant to be playing over this side. And as soon as you start, I guess, hitting in the right place, you actually start working with yourself as opposed to against yourself. So that was just something really cool that I took away from him. And it was the very first time I met him. He's like, yeah, you want to make sure that you're hitting in the right pitch, basically. So Nick, what are the 6 body types? And
So-
just a little bit on them.
What is the 6 body types? I think the easiest way to think of these is like a different person in a tribe. Now, when you're in a tribe, you all need to work together to survive, right? But everyone's got to have a little bit of a different role. And if you do that over time, you should evolutionary develop certain skills and certain predispositions. So that's what they've tried to do here. Now, if we look to the left of the wheel, what we see is the people that are all the early risers. And if we look to, to the left of the wheel, we have the early risers. And to the right of the wheel, we have people who wake up a bit later in the day. Now, the purpose of that in a tribe would be to have people around 24/7. You know, if you have a band, you have bandits attack, you have some lions or whatever, you know, at least there's someone there. At least there's someone to do something. And we all have differences between ourselves. So the Censors and the Crusaders down the bottom between, 330 degrees and 30 degrees. Our Censors, they are true ectomorphs. So they are dominated by their central nervous system. They are very touchy-feely sort of people. They're the types of people that'll go into a room and they'll know the vibe instantly. They'll know the vibe before they even walk into the room. They can generally be quite weird, it's like standoffish and a bit shy, but it's because they can feel things that, you know, other people can't. They're very central nervous system dominated. So then we've got the Crusaders next up on the wheel between 30 degrees and 90 degrees. They're a hybrid between the pure mesomorph and the pure ectomorph down the bottom. So yes, they do have a lot of central nervous system about them, but they're also quite dominated by their musculoskeletal system. So if we move on to the activator, it makes a little bit more sense. The activator is pure musculoskeletal driven. And what that means is they actually get energy out of movement. So they're like the little Energizer bunny. The more you shake them, the better they feel. So that's the type of people who are natural athletes. They're born to play sport. They're born to move their bodies. They're those kind of freaks where you just take them to a new sport and they just absolutely go nuts after 10 minutes.
They're naturally athletic, right? Yeah.
Naturally athletic. Then the Crusader is a mix between those two people.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm just bouncing back. It's easier if I explain activator and sensor.
No, that's all good.
Now, as a mix between those two people, the Crusader is quite driven type of person, but they're generally driven in like kind of one direction, like a horse that's running towards a goal or something. They're very one-track minded. They go this way and they keep going and they see it all the way through. They tend to be leaner people, but quite tall. Now, they can tend to be quite cold people, unless you're Sean. He's a bit of a freak. He loves everyone and everything. And that's generally not typical of a Crusader. But if you need, pardon my French, need shit done, find a Crusader in your life, because I've got one and it's Sean, and like, these guys are they go nuts. So bumping around, we've got a connector at the top. They're a cross between the Guardian and an activator. And I'll go across another one again. The Guardian is the pure endomorph category. Now, these people are our big people. Think Samoans, think Tongas, think guys that if you're walking down an alley with, you would not like to annoy them or get on their bad side. Naturally huge people. If you look at their calves are just like tree trunks. Now, these people are generally the softest, nicest, most placid people you will ever meet in your life, because they are so dominated and orientated by serotonin, which is the relax hormone. So all they really care about is their friends and their family. They don't care what you do as long as you come home for dinner. But they are the strongest type of person that exists in this wheel. If we go back another one, we've got a connector. So they're just a cross between the activator and the Guardian. These guys, I like to think of them as mutts, really. they're a little bit of a mixed bag sometimes. You don't know how they're going to train. You don't know how they're going to go. My cousin-in-law, she's one of these, and she plays AFL women's, surprisingly. But we've also got another connector friend who is like he's a gardener, and they're both quite athletic because they're very close to an activator. Both play high level sport, but one's quite lean and then one's quite big on the other side of things. So if we keep dropping around, we're going down to the very last one, Diplomat. I myself am a Diplomat. We're a cross between Guardian and a Sensor, obviously. So we're quite big people, but we also have quite a lot of central nervous system going a lot in us. The interesting thing about Diplos is that we think very different to everyone else. So instead of thinking A to B to C to D, we kind of have a little bit of a tendency or a predisposition to ADHD, because the way we think is A to B to cows to the moon and the grass, and that's how I can get my lettuce to grow outside.
Yeah, you mean ADD,
right? Yeah, ADD.
Yeah.
Now, it's not because we can't figure things out. It's because we're doing too many tasks at once. We're looking at the rocks, we're looking at maths, then we're looking at the moon, and then, I've just figured out how I need to plant my trees, that kind of thing. It's really, really weird unless you're a Diplo, but if you're a Diplo, that'll make so much sense to you.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
A lot of the concepts that you seem to just pull together, I'm like, hang on, wait, what? How did you pull these things together?
Yeah, we'll be training, and then all of a sudden, let's fix the gutters up.
It'll be a very organized mess, and it will look very messy from my perspective, and then you'll sort of just tie it all together somehow.
Yeah, so generally, like, it's an organized chaos is, I guess, the best thing to do it. Do we want to talk about training?
Yeah, that was the next thing we were going to sort of cover. Like, it's great to know that there are different body types, right? But I guess to make this practical for everyone, like, what can people do, or what do people need to know that sort of differs and would actually help them with their health, right?
Right.
So what are the basic guidelines, especially when it comes to, say, nutrition?
I think for starters, if anyone wants to do the test, you can do a free pH 360 test. It takes you less than 5 minutes. I'm sure Sean will find the link real quickly.
So this is the pH 360 test. And basically it takes you 5 minutes. So if you guys actually want to do it now, it's actually not a bad time to do it. So I'm just going to share that in the chat. So I can find the chat. There we go. So if you guys go to that link, it'll take you around 5 minutes, and we can sort of just ramble. And if you give us your results, it'll take you about 5 minutes to get the quiz done. You'll have your results sent to you directly after you've filled that out. And yeah, basically we'll go back to this wheel and actually give you some practical takeaways for today as well. So I guess I reckon Edward Zia, he's probably a connector.
Dude, he has to be a connector.
Yeah.
Has to be.
So he's 99% sure that he's a connector, right? So what can Edward Zia do for his food and or his exercise, right?
The training wise is quite hard as a connector. The activator and the guardian are completely different in their training physiology. So unfortunately, you're running gun, of course, no shit. It's a little bit of guess and test with the connector, unfortunately, training wise, because on one side you've got the guardian who should be training really heavy, but maybe only once or twice a week. But when they do train, it's, I'm absolutely destroying everything. Like, no one should be able to keep up with the guardian. Like, Sean's brother is a guardian, and like, when he trains, he's scary. Like, I'm a Diplo that's, if this is the line of guardian, I'm a Diplo that sits here at 290 degrees. I'm about, according to these guys, 10, 20 degrees off their physiology, and Sam just blows me out the water. He's ridiculously strong and just something out of this world.
So
On the
yeah,
other side,
just a little story on that. Like that guy, he weighs about 110 kilos. I'm 100 kilos. He can literally pick me up and throw me upside down. Like my legs will just go straight up in the air, and just he'll throw me around like I'm 30 kilos.
and he doesn't train. He doesn't go to the gym.
No.
This is just him naturally. It's uncanny. It's ridiculous. Back to connectors. On the other side is an activator. They're the Energizer bunnies. So they kind of want to train twice, if not 3 times every day. So you can see how there's some very big variance as a connector, and it's the same for food really too. The only thing we can just say for certainty without really sort of guessing and testing without knowing their precise number is that you love people and everyone loves you. It's simple as that. You're the life of the party every single time. Yeah, so connectors can be a mixed bag, really.
What about their food? So I know their food is probably something similar, right? Depending which side they're sort of on.
It's still the same, you know, like activators, they want to eat more frequently and they're early risers. Guardians want to eat less frequently, but they're later in the day. Like being a mix of that makes it really hard to just go, this is what we need to do.
Yeah, fair
Specifically, yeah, it's just super hard. Like you've got on one side, it's eat lots in the day, eat lots of times in the day. And then on this side, you've got don't eat frequently in the day, eat lots at one sitting. So you just got to find a happy medium, really.
All right, let's see if I can actually do some of this. So let's go through each one, and I'll just make a little note on each one in terms of, like, I guess, training, right? So
yeah, training. Okay.
Training.
So the Diplomat here, yeah, they say 6x6, but like I don't like that. That's still a little bit better. The Diplomat is dominant in strength endurance, right? So sensors down the bottom, because their nervous system dominated, they're very type 1, slow twitch fiber, very slow twitch fiber in sensors, and very fast twitch. I think it's 2x in Guardians, which means they're strengthened. They're strong. They're very, very fast and strong. Now, Diplos are strength endurance. So they want to, we've got another connector, so sorry. Strength endurance, so they're really, really good at things like rowing or a martial art, where it takes a lot of strength, but you're doing that for quite a lot of time. So take that in consideration with training. So maybe train only like 2-3 times a week, but look to push your sessions a bit longer and increase the total tonnage. So like a 6x6 and as heavy as you can kind of thing. Sensors, it's generally trying to get them to do things, really, more than anything. They're very, very sensitive people. They like to relax and calm down and chill their nervous system, no surprise. But training is light things. It's more yoga and stretching, meditation, and things that'll calm their nervous system down. That's the best thing for them. On the next one up, Crusaders, it's similar to training like a horse. Like a horse is just going to go and go and go and go and go. And that's how these guys do. You'll generally see a Crusader, or the best example of a body type of a Crusader is those people that ride bikes around the city. They're all fucking Crusaders, every single one of them, because they're the only type of person that is able to focus on one thing for that long and keep going. Like there is variance, but they're generally Crusaders. And surprisingly enough, that is how they should train. They should be sticking to one thing and doing it for a long period of time. Activators, throw everything at them. The only thing you can guarantee about an activator is that they're going to be quite fast and explosive, and they'll always give you 100%. So whenever an activator trains, and sorry, pardon me, they're doing some sort of set or exercise, when they stop, that is them at 100%. Connectors are your mixed bag. And then Guardians are just your absolute freaks, your freak strong people. They will just lift everything out the wazoo. They will gain muscle mass exponentially fast. You throw heavy stuff at them and they'll just blow up. Ridiculous. So heavy weights training for the Guardian. The Diplo strength endurance, so still heavy weights training. Sensor is yoga meditation. Crusader, look for long endurance things like maybe a bike ride or running, things like that. Activator is just throw everything and the kitchen sink at them. And the connector is kind of take your pick, really, between a Guardian and an Activator.
Yeah, so that's just a little summary, I guess, for the training side. Let's delve into the, I guess, the feeding side. So what should people be doing in terms of their nutrition and things like that?
Okay. So nutrition first is got to do with a little bit of chronobiology and a little bit of the gut length and also some predispositions to diseases and things like that, which we can talk about as well. But let's not talk about that today because that's very, very hard and complex subject. So on the left-hand side, we've got our early risers. On the right-hand side, we've got our late people. Now, if we start with the Guardian category, these guys have quite large digestive systems. I believe it's the Diplomat that has the longest digestive tract.
It's the most nomadic body type that has the longest gut. And the efficiency, I believe, is around 90 to 95%.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. So like a Diplo will eat a lettuce leaf and be able to go for, it'll be fine for the day. Like I know that's true for me. Yeah, I've got a couple of sups. Like I might take something like this, just an oyster seafood blend, just get some good minerals into myself and I'll be fine for the day. Like honestly, I could probably last 4 or 5 days without eating and you wouldn't notice. So yeah, if we just move from Diplos, general guidelines for a Diplo, it's easy for me because I know, is that we want to skip breakfast. We want to give food time to digest in the gut and go through. Big lunch, think intermittent fasting, and then small, highly digestible dinner. So intermittent fasting for the Diplo is generally the best. Sensors, our next door neighbor, has the least efficient digestive system. These guys want to eat very, very frequently, and they want to have types of foods that are already kind of pre-digested, like a soup or a stew or, you know, some sort of slow cooked meat. Because these people have inefficient guts, they're going to struggle at digesting fats. It's going to be quite hard for them. So having a kind of higher carbohydrate diet is going to be a little bit more beneficial for them. Crusaders are very similar. And to add to this, they want to eat frequently. So eating 5 or 6 times a day is going to be very beneficial for the sensor and also the Crusader. That stays true for them. The Activator is predominantly dominated by a hormone known as testosterone. So these guys get quite jacked up and going quite well. Now, if you start eating red meat, it starts amplifying testosterone and doing that thing. So paleo is fantastic for the Activator. For the Crusader, you want to find somewhere in between paleo for the Activator and highly digestible foods for the sensor. More carbohydrates are going to be okay because they don't have predispositions to problems with sugars and things like that, which is more so Diplos and Guardians. But yeah, that's great. Connectors are a mixed bag, very interesting. So it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, pretty much. But what's in breakfast, lunch, and dinner kind of differs between whether you fall towards an Activator or a Guardian. So Activators, like lots of meat, they're your steak and 3 veg, you know, eggs for breakfast, potatoes, those sorts of things. Guardians, because they have very efficient guts, eating lots of meat is actually going to be very detrimental to a Guardian Because what happens when they eat meat, especially red meat, and lots of it, is when it goes into the gut, it starts to sit there undigested and starts to ferment. So then we can start look at molds and toxins and lots of bad things that'll happen with the Guardian. They also have a kryptonite, which is sugar. So high carbohydrates in the Guardian or the Diplo is just going to absolutely destroy them. That's same true for a high carbohydrate diet as well. But what the Guardian actually needs is a high amount of minerals in the diet. So it's lots of leafy green vegetables, really. And yeah, trying to stay away from eating red meat and potatoes and too many carbs because they love family. They generally associate food with family. So most of the time, if you're dealing with a Guardian, they're quite a big person. They have to deal with weight loss all the time. It's like, dude, just eat some more vegetables, relax, you're going to be fine. And yeah, Diplos we covered, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good summary of those ones. There was actually a question that I asked, and I'll just stop sharing for a second. There was a question that I asked everyone in the Zoom. I actually can't remember what it was, but it was, what do people like Steve Jobs, Taylor Swift, Angelina Jolie, and Usain Bolt have in common? I don't know if you can answer that, but I certainly can. Do you know the answer? I'll actually, I'll share my screen again, just so everyone can see. They're actually all Crusaders. Varying degrees of Crusaders. So if you think about their bodies, they're all quite lean, they're all quite tall. And when you actually look at them, they're all endomorphic. So you've got Steve Jobs over here. So he's a 30 Crusader. Taylor Swift, long and lean. I don't even know who this guy is. Someone's going to comment and I'm going to feel embarrassed.
Oh, he's some sort of actor. I know his face. Can't remember his name.
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, all right, guy. Yeah.
Thank you, Kemi. Thank you very much. And we've got Usain Bolt on the side here. So think about Usain Bolt for a second, right? He's world's fastest man. He didn't just get there because he has awesome genetics. He got there because he had the drive to be the world's fastest man. Only really Crusaders.
He does have awesome genetics, buddies.
Oh yeah,
You're
not wrong.
Yeah.
But his mental capacity for just being so driven towards his goals are insane. So yeah, I just wanted to add that real quick. But was there anything else we needed to cover? So just quickly, why is it really important for everyone to know their health type? Nick, why is it so important?
It just comes down to looking after yourself, basically. Before I was ever introduced to pH 360, cereal for breakfast, 2 sandwiches for lunch, and then your cookie spag bowl or your schnitzel or whatever for dinner, right? Probably pretty stock standard for people across the board. I didn't change much of or I actually changed quite a lot of what I ate. But if I didn't change what I ate, but I just changed the timing, I dropped heaps of weight and I got really healthy. It's simple as that. So something really, really basic, just like this, the timing of when I need to eat makes me super healthy. Like even now, if I just go and eat late at night, it absolutely ruins me for the next couple of days. So it's just basically looking after yourself. It's so easy. Like if you know when to eat, you know what to eat, and knowing when and what to eat, and that keeps you away from disease and keeps your body full of minerals, full of energy. It keeps you working really well. It keeps you thinking very well, and gives you energy to go as hard as you possibly can in the day. I think that's really, really worth it.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree on that. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Nick? Because I know I had some troubles actually trying to organize my pro subscription on Zoom. I have no idea why.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right.
I left it a little bit too late, and we're actually going to get kicked off, which is a little bit frustrating. So was there anything else you wanted to add on that?
No, mate, that's great. We can definitely talk a little bit, well, a lot more on this. Like pH 360 goes into way more depth. Like we covered some hormones for some profiles, but every hormone, every biotype has dominant hormones and also lots of predispositions to different diseases. Like this is going to wrap up. So
actually, no, I've managed it, and no, we can stick around. So we're actually able to open it up to people for questions. I guess what we'll do is I just got to double check we've actually covered everything. Yeah, I think that was pretty much it. So I guess I'll give my little story as well. When I first went and saw Carl, I did the free test, and these free tests are around 80% accurate. So Nick and Carl were convinced that I was a diplomat. And so I started doing the Diplomat Detox, which is, and Paul, my brother, who's also in this conference, can attest to this, because he did it for longer, because we are actually the same number body type. We're both Crusader 70s. And it was actually crazy. So Paul's just said, it felt like I was going to die. So we were doing a detox. It's built for diplomats, which is basically eating as raw as you could, green vegetables, 3 meals a day. So it's the longest fast out of all the health types. It was 10 days of enduring eating salads with basically just spinach and no, like you couldn't dress your salad. You couldn't have anything, like no carbs with it. I think there was a little bit of potato at the end of the day to do a little healing protocol for the adrenals, but it was horrible. Like Paul sent me a photo of him and it was disgusting. Like he looked like he was going to die. He looked like he was on his deathbed. And we quickly did the paid test, right? Soon after that. And we both realized that we were actually Crusaders. So like, it's great to do the free test. And if you're really not, like, if you're confident that you are one of the biotypes, then, you know, be my guest. It's quite fine to follow that. But if you're unsure, and some people are just a little bit weird, like me and Paul, we're a bit weird because our knees are built quite strong. Our ankles are not super, super sturdy, but our knees look like we're diplomats. You can sort of tell by the body structure what someone's probably more inclined to be. And yeah, it was really super interesting to go through that, because we thought we were there, but we were actually more across here. So what we should have been doing was actually more of like a carbohydrate diet where we literally just eat carbs the whole day. So we took that away and basically we felt like we were going to die. So it wasn't fun. But it was very entertaining because I was watching Paul go through it before I did. And yeah, I was like, what's this guy's problem? It's I guess he's detoxing pretty hard, but yeah. Anyway, I just thought I'd like to share that story. But if anyone would like to put their hand up and actually ask any questions at all, like, more than welcome to. We'll spend a few minutes just saying, you know, answering any questions you guys have. All right. I can see Paul Tucker has a question. What was your question, Paul? You can unmute yourself if you like.
No, I didn't have a question, I don't think.
I maybe sensed that you did, but clearly you don't. That's okay.
No, you said you could do the detox and you were like, I'm pretty sure he's just being weak. And then you're like, you tried it for 3 days and you had to pull the pin saying it's too hard.
Thank you so much for joining us, Kemi. I really appreciate that. But yeah, no, you're right. So there was in the little cheat sheets that we were given, it's quite funny because it says Crusaders can push themselves to do these fasting diets because they're very headstrong. However, it will cause issues in their body. And I believe one of the biggest things I noticed was just like skin became really irritated. and like just so much brain fog. And I think you were the same, Paul, weren't you?
Yeah, I was the same as that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if no one's got any questions, that's cool. So I think what we'll do then is I'll just quickly share my my links to my, that was the other thing too. So what, just very quickly, Nick, what do we actually use this for?
You can use this. You can just use this. Like, you don't need anything else, really. Like, it's just one thing we use, but it's a fully encompassing tool. Like, it has complete food lists of everything you need to eat, and then exclusions, what you shouldn't eat, things you can maybe eat. Then it goes into chronobiology. So when you should be waking up, when you should be going to bed, when you can expect your body to be at its peak, you know, what environment you thrive in, how you deal with family, how you deal with stress, what hormones you have dominant in your body, how to exercise, what to exercise, exercises you could do. I don't know, there's detox protocols in there. And then it constantly updates the more you test yourself as well. So absolutely insane. And what's even crazier for me is that I am what's known as a 290 Diplo, so 290 degrees. And my brother Bailey is a 290 Diplo. And Carl is also a 290 Diplo. And if you look at our food lists, they're all different, which is absolutely insane to me. Like mine is basically just veg the whole way through, veg and fish. Bailey's is very similar, but his is way more fish, and he starts to get a bit of white meat. And Carl is basically just zero carbs whatsoever, no potatoes, no pumpkin, no grains, no nothing like that. So very, very interesting, and yet very, very detail oriented. And if you actually go into one of these foods, what they tell you is exactly why you should or should not be having one of those things as well. So absolutely insane, really. So there, heaps of information on that. And yeah, from a coach's perspective, it goes into even more detail, like what to expect out of this type of person, really. So they might get a little bit grumpy at certain times, or, you know, this food's good for them, but they're actually not going to like it, and they're going to be a pain in the ass about it, just because they're dominant in this hormone. Yeah, so absolutely crazy.
So yeah, this is also just something really cool that we didn't actually mention, but it actually gives you a bit of a schedule. This schedule is pretty spot on, I would have to say. The more that I'm more in tune with this, the better I am in my body. The more I actually feel like I am myself, and I feel like I'm optimized that way. So it's really cool. Great tool.
What I like to think is, I reckon this chronobiology thing is what happens when you go on holidays, or when you relax.
You're probably right. Yeah.
Yeah, like you are always up with the sun. And if I don't have an alarm, or like I don't want to do much, I'm always getting up a bit later in the day, which according to their chronobiology is exactly what I should be doing. I should be getting up at 8:30, 9 o'clock, easing my way into the day when I start to peak at about 3 to 4. Sean's way different. He can just get up and go all day. Absolutely insane. Not for me.
But yeah, they give you so much insight into it's actually quite scary how much insight you get when you go through some of that stuff. And it's,
yeah, maybe we'll pull up a coaches panel next and start talking about that, because it's like, yeah, it's quite scary how much you can talk about hormones and the emotional impacts of serotonin and ACTH and testosterone on how people think and do and live their lives. It's almost like we're little computers, we're being programmed, and these guys kind of have hacked that and know quite a lot to do with it.
Yeah, well, I think that's a really great insight into, basically the reason why I guess showed you all this is where we start with absolutely everyone. Because fundamentally we're personal trainers and we're kinesiologists, but the very first point that we start at is, what's your biotype? Because when we understand what's your biotype, we actually get you in the ring of where you should be. And the more you start getting in line with what your body actually wants, the more it will start liking what you're doing with it. So if you really find yourself, I guess, some points of the day where, or even some points in your life where you're just not feeling great, like this stuff can just really help bring you back to balance a lot faster. So I guess to conclude, yeah, if you haven't already, give that free test a shot. If you guys have any questions at all at any point, not necessarily today, but after our webinar, feel free to contact either of us. You've got us connected on LinkedIn. I'll post my LinkedIn on there as well. And Nick, if you want to post yours as well, you feel free to go for it. I'll just post it in the chat. So I've got my LinkedIn there, and I'll also get Nick's up as well. Oh yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have everyone on here tonight. Thank you very much for coming. We will be
much for you guys coming.
Definitely coming back next month. We will be back here. And if you guys have any topics or anything that you want us to cover, please give us a little insight into what you would like us to cover. Because I reckon the more input we can get from you guys, there's so much knowledge we could possibly cover. It's just what are the topics that are going to give the best, I guess, practical takeaways. That's what we sort of want to give to you guys. What
I would certainly love to do this like a Q&A at some stage and help people individually as we go. That'd be great as well.
Just like we did on Edward Z's networking the other day, like a bit more of a troubleshooting style. Yeah, I love it.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. This is Primitive Evolution. Appreciate it, Edward Zia. Appreciate you very much. Appreciate Alexander Kittle, Olga as well, and Baksha. Thank you very much for showing up, and Paul Tucker. And thank you so much, Kemi, for popping on by as well. Have an awesome night, and also have an awesome time wherever you are in the world. Take care, stay safe, and yeah, we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming.